Hello friends, I am back with a brand new session of chemistry for you. Now today we are going to start a new chapter, that is nitric acid. Now this is the third chapter in the series of study of compounds. If you remember, the study of compounds we had done long back in I think in March April. The first which we did was hydrogen chloride and hydrochloric acid, then second was ammonia. So this is the third chapter in that series, that is nitric acid. Okay. Now nitric acid was earlier called as aqua fortis. Aqua fortis meaning strong water. Strong water, okay, that is the name of nitric acid, the common name of nitric acid, because it had a highly corrosive action on most of the metals as well as silver. So because of that, the nitric acid is called as aqua fortis. Now you should remember what are the common names of the other compounds also which we have done. For example, hydrochloric acid was called as muriatic acid. Then ammonia was called as alkaline air. Nitric acid is called aqua fortis and sulfuric acid is known as oil of vitriol. Okay, so these common names also sometimes they may ask, so you should know the common names. Now if you see the occurrence of nitric acid, yes, nitric acid occurs both in the free state as well as the combined state. Now in the free state, the nitrogen which is present in the atmosphere will combine with oxygen during lightning discharge. Now when there is lightning, the temperature is very high to the extent of almost 3000 or 3500 degrees Celsius. So at such high temperatures, the nitrogen of the air will combine with oxygen to form nitric oxide. Now this nitric oxide gets further oxidized to nitrogen dioxide, and the nitrogen dioxide will dissolve in the atmospheric moisture and the oxygen of the air to ultimately form nitric acid. So this is the nitric acid which will come down along with the rain as acid rain. So this is the free form of nitric acid which we are obtaining from the free atmospheric nitrogen. Now this nitric acid will also combine with the carbonates which are present in the soil. Okay, the carbonates which are present in the soil will react with this nitric acid to form the soluble nitrates. So these soluble nitrates will be readily absorbed by the plants. So this process of conversion of the free atmospheric nitrogen into the soluble salts of nitrogen or the soluble nitrates which can be absorbed by the plant, that is called as the nitrogen fixation. You may have done this in the lower classes, that is nitrogen fixation or the fixation of nitrogen, and this is generally carried out in the root nodules of the leguminous plants. Okay, the leguminous plants, there are these rhizobium bacteria which are responsible for this conversion. Okay, so you have to remember these all the equations which we just discussed, that is first formation of nitric oxide, oxidation of nitric oxide to nitrogen dioxide, then formation of nitric acid, and ultimately the conversion of the nitric acid to the soluble nitrates. Okay, that is the free state of nitrogen, and the combined form of the nitric acid is in form of the salts, like you have Bengal saltpetre or the Chile saltpetre, sodium nitrate, potassium nitrate. Okay, so that is the occurrence of the salts. So can have a just look here, the reactions. Here the occurrence in the free of nitric acid in the free state, nitrogen will combine with oxygen during lightning discharge, yes, to form nitric oxide. Then the nitric oxide further gets oxidized to nitrogen dioxide. Now this nitrogen dioxide will combine with the atmospheric moisture and the oxygen which is present in the atmosphere to form nitric acid. So this is the free form of the nitric acid which will come down along with the rain as the acid rain. Okay. Now this nitric acid, when it combines with the carbonates, mineral carbonates which are present in the soil, it will form the soluble nitrates. So these soluble nitrates will be then absorbed by the plants plus H2O and CO2. So this process of conversion of the nitrogen, this is the free atmospheric nitrogen into the soluble nitrates, that process is called as fixation of nitrogen. Okay, and in the combined state, Chile saltpetre, that is NaNO3, and Bengal saltpetre, or it is also called as niter, KNO3. Now these common names you are required to remember, because sometimes in the laboratory method etc., they will ask the reaction taking the common name. So you should know that Chile saltpetre is NaNO3 and Bengal saltpetre is KNO3. Okay, is it clear? So these reactions are important, they are generally asked. Okay, now we will see the laboratory method for preparation of nitric acid. Now the laboratory method for the preparation of nitric acid is using the nitrate salts, that is either chili saltpetre or the niter. Now first you have to understand this assembly. Now the apparatus consists of, this is a glass retort. Now this is not a round bottom flask. You observe this is round here, but there is a long stem here. So such an apparatus is called as a retort, R-E-T-O-R-T. It's a glass retort, and this is your usual round bottom flask, okay, which is fixed into this long stem here. Then this is your tripod stand. This is the Bunsen burner. Now here you can see there is an arrangement. There is a tap which is pouring cold water. So there is arrangement for the cold water to be poured onto the round bottom flask. Okay, is the apparatus clear? And this is an outlet for water. So this water, when it falls on the round bottom flask, if you don't keep some outlet, everything, it will spill out and there will be unnecessary lot of wastage of water. So that water is collected, and this is the outlet is, then you can collect the water here separately. So there is no mess. Okay, so this is the apparatus. Now what are the reactants which we are using? Now you can use either sodium nitrate or potassium nitrate. You can see here, either you can use potassium nitrate or sodium nitrate, any can be used. And you are using concentrated sulfuric acid. You can see here reactants are concentrated sulfuric acid, and the solid reactant is either niter. Niter means KNO3, or chili saltpetre, that is NaNO3. Okay. Now there is a reason why we are using concentrated sulfuric acid. Now concentrated sulfuric acid, if you remember, it is a highly, yes, very good, non-volatile acid. It has a boiling point to the extent of almost 338 degrees Celsius. So it is non-volatile, has a high boiling point, and it readily displaces the volatile nitric acid from the salt, potassium nitrate or sodium nitrate. So these are the two reasons why we are using concentrated sulfuric acid. One, non-volatile and high boiling point 338, and readily displaces the volatile nitric acid from the salt, either sodium nitrate or potassium nitrate. Okay, reason, if you remember, is the same as what we had done for hydrogen chloride gas preparation. Nitric acid is also volatile and HCl is also volatile. Now here in this laboratory method, instead of concentrated sulfuric acid, okay, can you use concentrated hydrochloric acid? Now answer is no, because concentrated hydrochloric acid is also volatile in nature, like the nitric acid. Yes, so you cannot use one volatile acid to displace another volatile acid. So remember, the choice of the acid is always concentrated sulfuric acid. Okay, clear? So this is the reaction which is taking place, that is potassium nitrate and sulfuric acid. You are taking equimolar proportions. This is one part and this is also one part. Now though out of, now what kind of a acid is this? This is called as a dibasic acid. We have done in acid, bases and salts, right? So this is a dibasic acid, means there are two hydrogens, but out of these two only one is going to be utilized. But then also we are taking one part of sulfuric acid and one part of potassium nitrate. So you are taking a equimolar ratio of the salt, nitrate salt and the acid. Okay. Now the temperature, you can see here temperature conditions is very critical. It has to be less than or around 200. Okay, same as for hydrogen chloride. Now what will happen if you use a temperature higher than 200 degrees Celsius? So if higher temperatures are used, the apparatus can crack, then there is unnecessary wastage of fuel, then you get a hard residual crust of potassium sulfate or sodium sulfate. Yes, either you get Na2SO4 or K2SO4, which is a poor conductor, and being a poor conductor, what will happen? It will stick to the this retort and will be difficult to remove. So being a poor conductor, it sticks to the glass and is difficult to remove. And third reason why we are using a temperature around 200 degrees is, at higher temperatures the nitric acid has a tendency to undergo decomposition. So it will undergo decomposition and form NO2, O2 and H2O. So it will decompose. Okay, so to avoid all that, you have to keep the temperature conditions to less than or around 200 degrees. Okay, is it clear? Similar to hydrogen chloride, there also the temperature requirement was less than or around 200. I hope you remember that. Okay. Now this apparatus, if you see the apparatus, this is, I said, is a glass retort, this is a glass round bottom flask, and this stopper is also made of glass. So all the fittings will be of glass. So you use an all glass apparatus for this laboratory method. Now why we require an all glass apparatus? Because the vapors of nitric acid are very, very corrosive. So they can attack the rubber cork if you use this and corrode it. So that's why all apparatus should be of glass. Then temperature conditions, I just explained, it should be around less than or around 200 degrees, not higher temperatures. Okay. Now just understand how we are carrying out the experiment. Now in this glass retort you are going to add first the niter, that is potassium nitrate. Now you will add concentrated sulfuric acid in it. Okay. Now you are going to heat it and see that the temperature doesn't exceed 200. Now once the temperature reaches around 200, the reaction is going to take place and you are going to get nitric acid. So nitric acid you will get in form of the vapors. So vapors of nitric acid, they are going to travel through this long stem and they will reach here. Now here these vapors of nitric acid, now we are going to condense these vapors. So what is happening? This cold water we are pouring from outside, so that will facilitate in these vapors getting condensed into liquid nitric acid. Okay, are you understanding? Okay, so first you are getting vapors, then because of this cold shower here, those vapors are getting converted into liquid nitric acid. Okay, so that is how you are getting the nitric acid in the laboratory method. Clear? Now how do you collect it, or do you need to purify it? Now you have to understand that actually the pure nitric acid which is around say 98% is generally colorless. But the one which we are obtaining in the laboratory here by this lab method, making use of the nitrate salts, that will have a yellowish brown tinge to it. Okay, it has a slight yellowish brown tinge to it. Now why that is so? Because the nitric acid has a tendency to undergo decomposition. Now in spite of the fact that we are keeping the temperature to 200 or less, some amount of nitric acid undergoes decomposition and it forms nitrogen dioxide, oxygen and water. Now you know what is the color of nitrogen dioxide? Yes, very good. It is reddish brown in color. So this reddish brown nitrogen dioxide remains dissolved in the nitric acid. Okay, the reddish brown nitrogen dioxide remains dissolved in the nitric acid, thereby imparting it a yellowish brown tinge. Okay, so pure nitric acid is actually colorless, but the nitric acid which we prepare by the laboratory method, that has a yellowish brown tinge to it. So now your next question is, so how we going to remove that yellowish brown tinge? Okay, so how do we purify it? So that yellowish brown tinge can be removed by two methods. One is you either bubble carbon dioxide through it, so it will displace the nitrogen dioxide. Okay, or second method is you add water. When you add water, NO2 is soluble in water, so it will dissolve in water and you will get the colorless nitric acid. Okay, is it clear? So these are this is the laboratory method for preparation of nitric acid. Okay, this is very important and generally questions based on this are asked. Now if you have observed your chemistry textbook, on the outer cover of your Virav Dalal textbook, this particular diagram of lab method of nitric acid is given. You can have a look later. Okay, so what kind of questions you can expect on this? That is, the following questions refer to the laboratory method of nitric acid using niter. So now first thing you have to remember that niter means potassium nitrate. So give the equation which is involved. Then what are the why an all glass apparatus is used? What are the temperature conditions? Justify why temperature less than 200 is used. What is the color of nitric acid obtained in the laboratory? How will you remove the yellowish brown tinge in it? Okay, such questions. Now here with respect to precautions, now what precautions you are going to take with respect to this? One, you can say that temperature conditions have to be maintained, yes, that is less than or around 200, that you can mention. And second, you can say that an all glass apparatus is required, because nitric acid vapors are highly corrosive and they can attack rubber, cork, etc. Okay, is it clear? So with that we complete this lab method. Now we will have a look at the next part. Okay, so just note down these questions with respect to the laboratory method. This is your homework 1. Question 1. The following questions refer to the laboratory method of preparation of nitric acid using niter, means KNO3. Give the reaction involved. Second, explain why concentrated sulfuric acid is used. Can concentrated hydrochloric acid be used for the same? Third, list any 2 precautions taken. Fourth is explain why high temperature above 200 degrees is not used. Fifth is what is the color of pure nitric acid and nitric acid obtained in the laboratory. And last question, how can the yellowish brown tinge in the acid be removed? Now answers to these questions you will get in the Anish tutorial textbook. I think you have the textbook with you now in the nitric acid chapter. Okay, so if you haven't been able to note down, just note down. We'll pause it for you for a few minutes and then we'll move to the next part. Okay, now coming to the industrial method for preparation of nitric acid. Now just first understand this flowchart for the industrial method. Now here we are going to pass dry ammonia gas and dry air, 1 volume and 10 volumes, through a catalytic chamber. Now catalytic chamber will have platinum as the catalyst. Now through this, following the catalytic chamber, you are having a heat exchanger, because here the temperature which we are required to maintain is around 800 degrees. Now then heat exchanger to lower the temperature from 800 to 50 degrees, which is in the oxidation chamber. So products of catalytic chamber are nitric oxide. If you remember, this step is the catalytic oxidation of ammonia. In ammonia chapter we have done this. Catalytic oxidation of ammonia will form nitric oxide. So that nitric oxide will get converted in the oxidation chamber to nitrogen dioxide, and in the absorption tower the nitrogen dioxide, oxygen, and you have a spray of water which will ultimately form nitric acid. Okay, so the apparatus, or rather the industrial method, consists of a catalytic chamber, heat exchanger and cooling coils are there, oxidation chamber and absorption tower. Okay, now this industrial method is known as the Ostwald's process. Now you have to know only the reactions which are involved and the steps for Ostwald's process. Okay, now in your school textbook there will be almost 2 to 3 pages of the Ostwald's process, all the details, that is why we are using 10 volumes of air, why we are using platinum, what is the role of quartz, etc. Now all that explanation is not there in the syllabus. Okay, the syllabus just says that industrial method, the name of the method and the steps involved and the reactions only, along with the conditions. All the details is not there. Okay, so name of the method is Ostwald's process, and just try to understand what are the steps involved. First step is the catalytic oxidation of ammonia, which is taking place in this catalytic chamber. Okay, so 4 NH3 plus 5 O2 in presence of platinum as a catalyst at 800 degrees Celsius will give you 4 NO plus 6 H2O, and it is an exothermic reaction, so it is plus 21.5 kilocalories. Okay, it is an exothermic reaction. So since it is an exothermic reaction, the heat generated in the reaction itself will be able to maintain the temperature to around 800 degrees Celsius. Okay, so you don't need any external heating. Okay, this is catalytic chamber has that arrangement or other thermostat which will maintain the temperature to 800 degrees Celsius. Okay, then the NO and oxygen. Now if you see here, I have shown NO, oxygen and steam. So all that, the NO and this is the steam, and oxygen you need for the oxidation. So all that will pass through the heat exchanger. Now what will the heat exchanger do? That is heat exchanger and cooling coil. So they will lower the temperature from 800 to 50 degrees. Okay. So the oxidation of nitric oxide to nitrogen dioxide is taking place in the oxidation chamber. So 2NO plus O2 at a temperature of 50 degrees Celsius will give you 2NO2. Now this particular reaction takes place only at lower temperatures. At higher temperatures, the reverse reaction will take place. Okay, so you have to ensure that the temperature is reduced from 800 to 50, which is done with the help of that heat exchanger and cooling coils. Okay, clear? Now here if you observe, I have written NO2 and O2. So this NO2 which is formed in the oxidation chamber and the air is passed through the absorption tower. So absorption of nitrogen dioxide in water and residual oxygen. So all these three will combine and ultimately you are going to get nitric acid. Okay, so this is where the nitric acid is getting collected. So in this absorption tower, actually you are having layers of quartz are arranged. Okay, quartz is non-reactive, yes, and also it facilitates in the movement of the water, so that water will move slowly through the quartz layers and it will react with NO2 and O2 to form nitric acid. So all those details, why we are using quartz or the role of platinum, etc., all that is not there. Okay, so this nitric acid which is collected by this method, Ostwald's process, is dilute nitric acid, that is 50% nitric acid. Okay, is it clear? So this is our industrial method for preparation of nitric acid. Now sometimes they can give you the flow chart and ask you to name these boxes, so you should know how to make that flow chart. Now I'll just explain though that now here we are using dry ammonia and dry air. If you see the volume, ammonia is 1 volume and air is 10 volumes. Now air is required in all the three reactions. See, air in the sense oxygen is required and air is only providing that oxygen, right? And what is the percentage of oxygen in air? It's just around 20 to 21%. So you are requiring a high percentage of air. Okay, so 10 volumes of air. In each of these oxygen is there, here as well as in the third. So a high volume of air is required. Okay, is it clear? So name of the method is important, and when steps are asked, these are the steps which you are going to write. Catalytic oxidation of ammonia, oxidation of nitric oxide to nitrogen dioxide, in bracket you can write oxidation chamber, absorption of nitrogen dioxide in water and residual oxygen, here you can write absorption tower. Okay, is it clear? Give 5 stars to this question, very very important. Now if you haven't been able to note it down, we'll just pause it for you before we move to the next part. Okay, now continuing with our properties of nitric acid. Now we just saw the laboratory method for preparation of nitric acid and the industrial method. Okay, now coming to properties of nitric acid, first is the physical properties. Now color. Now pure nitric acid, that is 98%, it is colorless, just now we discussed it, and commercial acid which is 68% is yellowish. So pure nitric acid is also called as fuming nitric acid, 98, commercial is concentrated, 68, and dilute is 50%. What we got in the Ostwald process was dilute nitric acid, okay, 50%. Then odor, it has a very suffocating odor. Taste, sour taste, all acids have a sour taste. Now physiological nature, it is non-poisonous but highly corrosive. Now this you have to remember, in the physiological nature you have to be very careful when you are handling nitric acid, especially concentrated nitric acid. If it falls on the skin, it will give painful blisters, yes, and also it will react with the protein of the skin. Yes, it reacts with the protein present in the skin to form a yellow colored compound called as xanthoprotic acid, which stains the skin yellow. That's why you have to be very careful when you are handling nitric acid. Okay, concentrated nitric acid, you have to be very careful. Especially in higher classes, if you take science and when you carry out experiments, you will be required to pipette out these highly concentrated acids. So always use a bulb pipette to pipette out the acid. Never use your mouth to pipette out the acid. Okay, remember that. Then solubility, highly soluble in water. Okay, it is soluble in all proportions. And nature it is hygroscopic. Hygroscopic, you remember, that is, it has a tendency to absorb moisture from the atmosphere. So, and it fumes in the air. Hence, that bottle which is containing the nitric acid should always be stoppered. Otherwise, what will happen? It will absorb the moisture and get diluted. Okay, so that is, it's hygroscopic in nature. Now, same is true for concentrated sulfuric acid also. It is also hygroscopic in nature. Okay, so in physical properties, what you are required to remember is this question. You can give 5 stars to this. This is very important. Explain nitric acid affects the skin if it accidentally falls on it. So you have to write it in 2 points. That is, nitric acid has an extremely corrosive action on the skin and causes painful blisters. Then second point is, it combines with the protein of the skin, forming a yellow compound called as xanthoprotic acid, and hence stains the skin yellow. Okay, so these are the physical properties of nitric acid. Now coming to the chemical properties. Okay, coming to the chemical properties of nitric acid. Now under chemical properties of nitric acid, we are going to discuss the stability of nitric acid. Now you have to understand that pure nitric acid, which is 98%, is seldom used, rarely used. Now why that is so? Because it has a tendency to undergo decomposition. Yes, nitric acid undergoes decomposition to form NO2, O2 and H2O. We just saw that reaction earlier. Now this decomposition is further accelerated in presence of sunlight and at higher temperatures. So generally the concentrated, or rather the fuming nitric acid, which is 98%, is rarely used. Now instead you use either concentrated nitric acid, which is 68%, or dilute nitric acid, which is 50%. And you have to take special precaution for the storage of nitric acid. Now if you may have observed this in the laboratory, that is, all these concentrated acids are stored in amber colored containers or bottles. Amber colored, those are the brown bottles. Now there is a reason why we are storing this nitric acid in amber colored bottles, or they are also called as reagent bottles. So these amber colored bottles, they will prevent the light rays from entering inside. So what will happen? It will prevent the decomposition of the nitric acid into NO2, H2O and O2, because you are not allowing the light to enter. So that process of decomposition of nitric acid is therefore prevented. Hence you have to store the nitric acid in the reagent bottles or in amber colored bottles. Okay, so that is asked as a give reason many times, or explain why nitric acid shows a yellowish brown tinge in it. So that is again because of the decomposition. Okay, again because of the decomposition. Then you have the next property, which is called as the acidic nature. Now nitric acid is a monobasic acid. We have discussed this in acid, bases and salts. Monobasic, per molecule of the acid it forms one hydronium ion. Okay, so it is a monobasic acid and the basicity is because of the presence of hydronium ion. So all the properties of due to its acidic nature, that is reaction with bases, reaction with carbonates, bicarbonates, reaction with sulfides, bisulfides, all these reactions we are going to discuss and write during the Zoom session. So today I am just explaining to you the properties, chemical properties, but actual reactions I will make you write when we will discuss in the Zoom session. Okay, so that is the acidic nature, all these typical properties of the acid. And the last property is the oxidizing nature of nitric acid, because it is giving nascent oxygen on decomposition, or when you heat nitric acid it forms nascent oxygen, and this nascent oxygen is responsible for the decomposition, or rather the oxidation of metals, non-metals and some inorganic compounds. So all those reactions with respect to the oxidation of certain metals, mostly copper, then non-metals, that is carbon and sulfur, and inorganic compounds, though it is given in the textbook, it is not in the syllabus. So all those reactions we will discuss in the Zoom session. Okay, so till then you go through this, whatever we have done, and do the homework thoroughly, and happy studying, and stay safe and healthy in the house. Thank you.